Hey team, welcome to Inside the Movie Photographer with Jason Boland. Today, I have Robert Coppa, one of the great fashion and editorial photographers. We met actually by accident on Facebook over a decade ago, and it wasn't I went and checked out his page and I was just completely blown away. We've been friends ever since, especially with Instagram now. We're both on each other's pages. Every time Robert posts, I'm sitting there typing away going, you have got to be kidding me. Stop it. Constantly breaking new ground. Robert was born in the Italian Alps. He worked in the States for 8 years before moving to Australia. But he started his photography career in reverse. He loved the arts, especially computer arts, moved to comp design, color grading, retouching, and then finally found photography. He's had 20 years in the industry. You guys are going to learn more than what you're ever going to learn from me. And I can't wait because I'm going to learn a bucket load today. So I'm going to bring him in now. Robert, hey, buddy.
Hey, Jason. How you doing? How are you, buddy?
Thanks for joining us. Oh, my God. You have no idea how excited I am about this.
It's my pleasure. Likewise. I've been waiting for this. Thank you for asking me on. I really appreciate that.
Oh, honestly, I've never seen work like yours. It continually blows me away. Just your lighting and the way that you get your models to pose. I mean, you're very, very much a director. You're a one-man, for us in the film industry, you're a one-man filmmaker that does everything. And it's very exciting to watch.
I've tried my hand at filming, and I've done a couple of short films and whatever, and it's a hell of a lot harder when you're filmmaking, because obviously there's the crew, but there's just so much more you need to take into account. So
yeah.
I think as a photographer, if you are very competent with your camera, you understand your camera, as you know, when you're on set, it's all muscle memory, right? You don't even think about what aperture, shutter speed, or ISO at all. And you're always looking for the shot. And I guess from my end, it's a little bit different than stills in that I get a chance to actually direct and create little nuances with the models, which perhaps obviously someone like yourself wouldn't be able to do the direction unless you're doing some work after the filming or whatever, right?
Yeah, I very rarely do setups. I like to get the director's performance is what I call it. But that also could be something about me too, that I see the image, but I don't see the process of getting to that part of the image. So that's why it really intrigues me that you are in control of every aspect of it. And there's one thing that I didn't know about you, your career in reverse. And then I was thinking about it and it's like, hold on, that's actually not that strange, because I started in newspapers as a darkroom technician. And my style has been developed from printing the images of 15 other photographers who, I was able to pick out the good parts and the bad parts. But, I was 15, 16 years old. So it really has influenced the way that I shoot now.
Absolutely. I think you started a lot earlier than me. This is kind of my second career. But yeah, you can't help it, right? I think that, and especially gives you, because you came from that area, it gives you a different appreciation as to what the final image is going to be. So sometimes I envy those photographers that kind of, started way back when in film and etc. I really only started in digital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so when I first started doing photography, it was all digital. It wasn't as good as it is now. But yeah, I never had the chance to, I played around with film, obviously, but never had the real chance of saying, well, I've got a critical shot, I need to take it, I need to take it with film. I've been spoiled in having the ability to, look at the back of the camera and say, oh, you missed it, and take it.
It's funny because, like, as far as light goes, exposure was what was super important for us in the film days. And it's really weird because my Photoshop skills are terrible, but all I really do is what I used to do in the darkroom, and that's a little bit of dodge and burn. I use radials and and contrast, tonal contrast, and things like that, which is just different grades of paper. And I don't think I've progressed from the darkroom to Photoshop.
But they're
very
great
well.
skills. They're stock standard skills that you must have, you know.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's interesting watch. And that's so, oh wow. So straight into digital. Hey, I'm going to throw straight into an image here because we've got a few images that I want to get through with you.
Okay.
Because okay, team, just wait till you see this first shot. And this is just random. This is not put in any order, but check this out. I mean, Robert, stop it.
That is one of my favorite shots. Interesting story about this. We got time for a bit of a story on this?
Mate, we've got all the time that you like.
Okay, so I had a designer get in touch with me. Her name is Sarah Joseph. Big shout out, by the way. Great bridal couture designer, as well as, you can tell, just straight out fashion couture. So she moved into Canberra. She reached out to me, and you know, she approached me as a bridal designer for wedding dresses. I was in a bit of a rut, and so I kind of posted online that I was looking for a designer that could do something a little bit risque, something a little bit different that hasn't been seen. And I get a call from her, and she goes, "Oh my God, Robert, take that post off Facebook right now, because I'm going to do you a dress." And I'm going, "Hold on, I don't want a wedding dress." She goes, I'm not going to do a wedding dress. He goes, "Give me 4 days. And then if it's not what I'm looking for, or what you're looking for, you can go back out." So I gave her 4 days, actually 3.5 days. She called me. I went over to her studio, and she had this on a mannequin. And I thought, oh my God, that is absolutely amazing. And then the rest, we ended up shooting it. Now, interesting, we were going to do a location shoot, but it was raining. So I ended up shooting her in studio, and then went out 2 days later, shot the background, and then comped it in.
Are you kidding me? See, I would never have seen that as a comp at all. And it's so she designed this just for you for the shoot.
Exactly. And since then, this has gone around. It's actually been in New York. It has been in quite a few famous singers have worn it locally, and I can't remember the name of the girl, but she's an Australian celebrity. She's worn it as well. So, but we're talking this maybe 2013, I think, when we shot this.
It's very gaga.
Yeah.
It's
the model is absolutely amazing. Her name is Meloxine. Not sure whether she's still modeling right now, but she was absolutely amazing to work with.
So is your collaboration with this designer still going?
On and off. We were actually in business together for some time. And she's still now really concentrating on the bridal. She's got her own brand, obviously. And shout out to Sarah Joseph Couture and Sarah Joseph Couture Bridal. Check her out. She's got some absolutely amazing gowns. Some are very affordable. Other are couture bridal, made here locally in Australia.
That's cool. We'll put her in the link downstairs, and so that we can keep an eye on that, so everyone can check out. I mean, look at your light. Oh my gosh. And you find it too. Now, I'm going to get the elephant out of the room right now before we discuss it any further. But I get into trouble because I sit there and say that I pay no attention to light, and it's got nothing to do with that. A good portion of mine is lit by directors of photography and stuff like that. It purely has to do with that. I believe as photographers, we should know the light and find the light very, very simply, and it shouldn't be a struggle for us to find it. Am I on any of the right path with how I feel about light?
Oh, yeah, definitely a key, probably the key thing of being a photographer is finding the light and then shaping that light into an aesthetic that you're trying to infuse into an image. So this one here, I was very fortunate to win a job to shoot a bridal couture campaign. We shot this in France. The designer for this is Arushi Couture. They're based in Dubai, and they flew me up, and I ended up spending 2 weeks with them. What you see here is a family chateau that they've had in their family for many, many years, and some of it was under disrepair or renovation, and so we took the time. I really like that kind of bit of a grungy look in a fusion of the beautiful white couture dresses, as well as something a little bit older and grungy kind of fused together. So this one here particularly was shot, I think it was in the morning, so we were getting good sunlight in, and then the rest was backfilled with some lighting. Very minimalist. I shot the whole of the campaign with just one strobe. So it was very much about blending light. So natural light and strobe used in more of as a fill and as additive to the natural light. But we wanted, and very much what the designer was trying to instill is that very romantic, nostalgic kind of feeling. And of course, you can't just flood them with strobe lights.
No, and it really is. It does have that nostalgic look to it. I mean, like this image, you could see it from the 20s Hollywood right up until now. I mean, it's a timeless image and timeless lighting too, I think. And those guys, with the big brute arc lights in the old days, they really had it. They had it right. They paved the way for us guys in many ways.
Absolutely, yes.
I remember looking at Stephen Meisel's work on Madonna, and I love that he used big studio lights out in the middle of the street, and I mean it's a long time ago, but yeah, this is the same campaign, right?
This is their backyard. What a backyard!
Oh, no way!
This is their backyard, and it's just it was that's all wheat. Part of the chateau is actually farmland. We shot this in Rennes, which is that's in Brittany. And it was just so beautiful. And again, I think this could have been, I think it was earlier in the morning. It was just fantastic. And this is just purely natural light.
Unbelievable. And so when you travel, do you travel with your lights, or do you rent over there? I know with this campaign you only had one strobe, but I'm sure that you had backups. But do you rent when you get there, or do you travel with you?
It depends on what the brief is. So if I'm going to shoot in studio, or if it's mainly indoors, then I know I'll need to have considerable equipment. For this campaign here, we had done quite considerable homework before I actually flew out to France. So I knew the field that we wanted to do. I knew we weren't going to be close to any major capital cities. And so it was just a battery pack, one light, two lights with the one battery pack. But, we probably could have driven for maybe 2 or 3 hours to a major city and get something if that wasn't sufficient. But I didn't want light to be an issue and get in the way. I just wanted to make sure that, we were hitting the mark as far as lighting. And based on the brief they had given me, this is kind of what I was seeing. And they confirmed that after, we did a little bit of scouting. So the first day I got there, they showed me around. They showed me what they thought would be good places to do the shoot. I found this crappy leather somewhere in the garage, and I put it over there, and I got the makeup artist to go up, and I took a shot, and aesthetically they loved it. So that was the shot. That was easy. So when the model was actually from the UK, so we had a bit international. The designers were from Dubai. I was from Australia. Makeup artist from Wales, and the model was from the UK, London.
I mean, that's really, really great information for photographers out there that are, you know, looking for a little bit of reassurance that you don't have to have thousands of dollars worth of lighting to pull off great images. And it really is, you know, a matter of getting up to get the light, and as opposed to, you know, I think that the best light I've always loved anyway is the light that you have to fight for, and that's that early morning light. You get up before it's light, when it's still dark, as opposed to sitting around waiting all afternoon. And you know, afternoon light can be a little bit lazy light, and morning light is the one that you have to work for, and look at what you get.
Exactly.
It's amazing. And just the lines that flow through there. Oh. All one light, huh?
This one's here, yeah, all one light, and it wasn't a big light either. So
wow, I've got a big screen behind me, so well, in front of me, so I keep looking up so I can see them in all their glory, because I try not to look at the photos. Like, I scan through it really quickly and then I don't look at them, because I want to be blown away constantly. Now this is, I have to say, this is a bit of a signature pose of yours, right?
a little bit, yeah. I mean, it is used a lot in the fashion industry. Can I just say, by the way, you know how I mentioned Sarah Joseph?
Yeah.
It's Sarah Joseph, the one in the red dress. That is Sarah Joseph, designer.
No way. This is the designer.
Yeah. She is the designer. So with we did this shoot. We had this gorgeous gown. It's a $30,000 gown, and it's absolutely amazing. I was a bit stuck for a model for this. And Sarah goes, well, if I can fit in the dress, I think I could do it. And obviously, she absolutely nailed it. We went out to the High Court of Yass. Yass is a small little township just outside of Canberra. It's about an hour's out of Canberra. Yeah, so I read. It's a very small town. I rang up the court and I asked permission to use it. There was no permits. They just said, look, you can use it, but be aware that it's not easy. You can see on the edge there, there's all this gating. So the whole thing is quite gated. So we didn't have a lot of room to be able to play with. But this one worked out well. You have the leading lines there going across of the columns. And I think it's very classical architecture, worked really well with this particular dress.
Well, yeah, it really does. And you know, to leave that, to not make it just about her, to make it about the whole piece of art, to flow it through there with the columns and the headroom. You know, I really love it. And I mean, some of your images look like you use smoke, but are you using smoke, or is it you putting like a 3 or 4% red through the post?
No, I have used fog a little bit, but I don't think I've not in this. Actually, it was a 43-degree day.
Oh, wow.
That gown at the bottom, it has about 3 or 4 layers of stiff tulle underneath it to give it the ball gown volume.
Right.
And she was a real trooper, because it was extremely hot in that dress.
Wow.
No, what I tend to do, that's part of the color grade. So I tend to crush some of the colors to give it that more. I'm very much about trying to attain a filmic look, even though I'm shooting in digital. So I find pure digital can be quite clinic, but I love things like grain in that's very inherent in film. And so I pay a lot of attention as far as finishing my images. So once I've done the retouching and the color grading as part of my workflow, a big part of it is the finishing. And that's where I look at, you know, introducing grain to give it that kind of filmic look.
So do you mean that you strip the raw file right back to like an N-log and then build on it from there?
No, well, I don't shoot that flat. So, but I tend to err more on the flat rather than contrast. I rather build the contrast afterwards. Obviously, having come from that background of a lot of post-production, I feel I have a lot more control on how I introduce contrast into an image. Obviously, if I'm shooting something that is very grungy, then the light in itself will be quite contrasty. So, you know, a lot of silver reflector type, you know, soft boxes without the front baffle to not soften the light, to be hard punching. That in itself will introduce the contrast, and then I can add on it in post if I want to. But I don't shoot totally flat. It does have some contrast in it.
Yeah. Wow. So I see in the background you're in your studio. Is that Elinchrom? So you light with Elinchrom?
Yes, I'm an Elinchrom Australian ambassador.
Oh, cool.
With them, I've been shooting with Elinchrom. So I started photography in the US, and my first set of lights were a set of Elinchrom because I always foresaw coming back to Australia, and I wanted something that even back in those days was able to use the different voltage. So Elinchroms tend to be from 95 to 250 volts. So you can basically take them anywhere in the world and just plug them in as long as you've got the right connector. So you don't have to worry about transformers or whatever those electrical things are called. I don't know. But and so initially that attracted me to it. And then I just found, you know what? I still have some lights here from back in 2005 or 2004, something like that. They're still working. Chromes, you know, so I use them. They're great as far as shaping light. The modifiers are absolutely amazing. You know, when you look at a manufacturer that produces light modifiers that other light manufacturers have them branded with them, you know they have a good product.
Right.
Yeah, you know that little softbox that I took with me to France, and I've taken them on other parts in the world, is still like hanging up in my studio, so I still use it. They're very durable.
That's incredible. So I mean, I've used Elinchrom a lot over my career as well, but I had no idea that they are the ultimate traveling light. So that's a really good tip for people out there. And and I got to ask, when you're oh gosh, I can't now. See, you're distracting me again.
Sorry.
I mean, look at that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's a lot, you know, I mean, like you can buy gear online cheap. What's the difference between buying an Elinchrom system, you know, not necessarily the lights, but soft boxes and snoots and things like that? You know, there is a difference, isn't there?
Look, absolutely. The good thing about the Elinchrom is that their soft boxes, they can collapse down to almost an umbrella. So a lot of people are doing it nowadays. You know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, there wasn't anybody. If you had to put together a softbox, you had to fit in all of these different coat hanger wires and build it. It was quite compact to carry, right? But it was a pain in the butt to actually put it together.
It was like trying to make a bicycle wheel.
Exactly. Whereas Elinchrom it was a spoke mechanism that just kind of came all together, very portable. But also the material that they used was very durable. I mean, you've been on a film set, right? You know what it's like. Your gear gets a lot of wear and tear, and especially when you're traveling. But their equipment, again, I still have the stuff that I shot here. This would have been 2015, 2014, something like that. You know, I'm still using it every day, packing it up and going out on location or in the studio. They're great. They're absolutely great.
Have you got much Are you punching something in from the front here, or what? Just as a fill, or or is it all natural light again?
So again, that one light, I had one of the, so when the Arusha Couture, they brought on quite a few helpers. These gowns, as you can appreciate, there's a lot of pearls, there's a lot of bling on them. They're very heavy dresses. So to get the model dressed, you require quite a few people. So once they were dressed, I had one of their helpers hold the light over my head just to fill in a little bit. Sorry about this light, but
yeah, let's just be clear, because that's not an Elinchrom light. I know that.
And so it's it was just above my head as I'm shooting. They're above my head, and as I'm walking back, she's walking towards me, and as we both walk, they walk behind me with the light.
Right.
Light, beautiful gardens again here.
So
I think
this was
second year.
So was this with a strobe or with a constant?
Strobe.
Yeah, right. Everyone
with a warm gel on it. With a
warm gel.
Yeah.
Oh wow, you're very gracious with your information, and it's fantastic. It's really, I'm learning, so I'm going to take some notes.
Part of what I do is education as well. So I do a lot of education. So I'm always happy to. I've had some great mentors directly and indirectly as I was learning. So I'm very happy to pass on, and if people want to go, if you're going to put my website on here, people can go to large education of both workshop and mentoring, that people can look at my offering if they're interested.
Well, Robert, I find the photographers that are comfortable with their own work are the ones that are happy to help and to mentor, and the other people that you want to learn from, because they've done the hard yards. And I know I talk about it a lot, that there's no shortcuts in photography. You still got to put in the hard graft.
That's right. Yes.
But if you can get a couple of little tips, and it's not about copying your style or my style, it's about taking little bits and pieces, which we covered in the beginning from the darkroom and the retouching, and then turn it into what your own style is.
But even if both of us were standing in front of that model there and took that shot, there would be different shots anyway. You might see something else in it. So I believe in teaching a technique doesn't in any way rob anything from me, because my images is not just a click of a button, but it's about seeing the image at the back of the camera through the viewfinder and imagine what it can be, rather than just a snapshot. So
I mean, how many times, I'm sure that you're the same, you've had a client standing off to the left or the right, and they're like telling the model what to do, or the actor what to do, and it's like, no. You come and stand. If you're going to give any direction, come and stand where I'm standing, because I'm not seeing what you're seeing.
That's right. Exactly right.
That's amazing. So team, that's the end of episode 1 with Robert Coppa. I was right, huh? His work is simply breathtaking. In episode 2, we've got more, and some of his portraits in this next episode are just absolutely stunning. We're also going to be talking about judging for photography. We're going to be going through a 2 lighting setup. So make sure that you please subscribe and do the old bell so you're notified, so you can come and join us for another session with the master himself, Robert Coppa. Thanks, guys. Cheers.